Hello everyone, I'm Jockey, and today is the X report for Pokemon, I'd say Generation 3, because we'll be talking both about some things I didn't talk about in Ruby, as well as some of the extra stuff in Emerald, the third version of the game. Just like with Generation 2's Crystal and kinda Gen 1's Yellow, there's a third version that kinda adds a lot of new features and provides a new experience, and Emerald is probably the best third version yet. There's a lot of great new additions in Emerald as is. This guy Scott follows you around and kind of adds to the story and world. A lot of the gyms are more interestingly designed, and there's a lot more double battles both in gyms and outside of gyms, making Pokemon like Plusle and Mine and all the more useful. But probably the best change to Emerald is the massive story overhaul. You go through a lot of the same villain team moments that you did in Ruby and Sapphire, only it kind of alternates between Team Magma and Team Aqua. Right before Lava Ridge and the big volcano, you face off against Team Magma, which kind of makes sense. I mean, they're the fire-themed guys there. But in the underwater base where you have to use dive to even get there, you face off against Team Aqua. It presents a more complete story where both teams are clearly the villains, and they're both misguided in slightly different ways. Emerald gives you the more complete story and lets you know more about who these characters are and what they stand for. It honestly reminds me of whenever there's an episode in a TV show where characters are recollecting events in their own unique way. One character will relay the story, and then another one will say, no, this is how it really happened, and then they'll relay their version, until finally you get the proper, complete version of the story. There's probably a term for that in TV shows, but I don't know it all that well. What's most interesting about Emerald is the legendary story and how that plays out. You may have noticed this green guy on the box art. Well, in this version of the story, both Team Aqua and Magma summon the legendaries, although they realize how dire and dangerous this situation has become. And in the middle of Satopolis City, it seems like all chaos is about to break loose as both Groudon and Kyogre are raging a battle against one another. Or at least I think they're raging a battle, they seem to be just kind of standing there. Also, Groudon has the smallest piece of land, how is he expected to do anything? But before things grow too dire, Rayquaza, the Sky Pokemon, lunges in and calms the two legendary Pokemon. Rayquaza here is the special extra legendary, which I like a lot. It was kind of weird in Crystal version how the box art legendary was Suicune. Like, okay, you could already get Suicune in Gold and Silver, that's not really special, they just kind of changed up how he worked a bit. Honestly, they should have made Crystal version about Celebi, since, well, there's no other way to get it now, but anyway. Oh, one last thing I should note about Emerald before carrying on is that Wallace is no longer the Water-type gym leader, he's been replaced by superior Juan. And this is primarily because he's become the champion. Steven is just kind of a guy who helps you out now, as Wallace is now the new champion. Anyway, let's talk legendaries in this gen. So of course there's Groudon, Kyogre, and Rayquaza, but there are actually a lot more legendaries in this game aside from the box art ones. Starting off, we have ones that aren't really interesting and unfortunately you can't really get all that well. Deoxys and Jirachi. They're just kind of the Mew and Mewtwo equivalents in my eyes, or the Celebi and, well, there was no Mewtwo equivalent in Gen 2. Anyway, Jirachi is still obtainable using Pokemon Coliseum and a link cable. Deoxys is no longer available without hacking the game somehow. Although it's an interesting concept for Pokemon, he's like a weird alien thing. Another legendary that's interesting but not exactly my favorite are the legendaries Latios and Latias. These are two new legendaries that fly around the Hoenn region just like how the roaming legendaries in Generation 2 worked. Now, there is a much better strategy in this game where all you have to do is turn on a rappel, hop on a patch of grass on a bike for a little bit, and then leave the area, come back, and rinse and repeat until you eventually find the legendary. Because hopping up and down on the bike doesn't actually use the rappel, it'll only get used up occasionally when you leave the route and come back. I wasn't able to get footage of finding Latios or Latias in my playthrough here, but I mean, you get the idea. You just hop up and down, eventually find them, and even if you don't catch them, from that point on you'll be able to track them, which will make things a lot easier. Also, I should note, you can only get one of these legendaries per game. In Ruby, you get Latias, in Sapphire, you get Latios. And in Emerald, you're given a choice between which one will be roaming. The only way to get the other one without trading or hacking is using the Eon ticket, which was an e-reader card for the Game Boy Advance. I wonder when I'll get to talk about that thing. Well, that leaves one trio of legendaries left, and these happen to be my absolute favorite. These are the Regis. Regirock, Regice, and Registeel. I know I said Regice and not Regice. I mean, I get Regice is how it's spelled, but first of all, Ash says Regice. But also, wouldn't it be kind of weird if one of the Regis didn't have the word, Reggie in it, if it was just Regi? So throughout your adventure, you may notice a lot of sealed caves, areas that look like you can go in them, but you just can't yet. This is a bit of where Pacific Town comes into play. Surfing left of there, you'll find all these currents taking you to different places, and if you can happen to match up right, you'll eventually find this patch of water you can dive underneath. And here you'll notice this strange etching in the wall you can't really make out. I know this text looks like absolute nonsense, but it's actually written in Braille, and it says go up here. Braille is this writing system that's typically used by people who can't see. That way they can just feel the writing with their hands. Although that's not its only use. Regardless, once you dive up, you'll find yourself in this sealed chamber, and here you'll see all of the main alphabet written in Braille. This kind of serves as a translation method for you. From here you can kind of learn the writing itself. It's kind of fun that the Pokemon game actually expects you to do this. The whole alphabet is written out, except for the very far wall of the cave, there's an inscription that reads, dig here. So you have to use a Pokemon that knows dig, and, uh-oh. So, I don't exactly remember what I did with the TM for dig. I might have sold it, I might have replaced it somewhere. I don't have it for some reason. There are only 2 Pokemon I can get that learn dig. It's Diglett, which I can't get in the game, and Nincada, who learns it at level 45. So you can guess what I had to do and what heavily delayed this episode. I had to level up a Nincada, mainly using the Elite Four and wasting all of my money blacking out on Glacia. But yeah, eventually I got my Nincada to learn dig and then evolved it finally there. Okay, so you dig in that chamber and it takes you to the inner chamber where an important inscription is written out. In the cave reads, first comes Relicanth, last comes Wailord. In this cave we have lived. We'd owe it all to the Pokemon, but we sealed the Pokemon away. We feared it. Those with courage, those with hope. Open a door, an eternal Pokemon awaits. At this point, you need a Relicanth in the first position of your party and a Wailord in the last position of your party, which luckily isn't too much trouble. Relicanth you can find fairly easily using a Super Rod, and though it's very difficult to find a Wailord in the wild, you can use a Super Rod to get a very high level Wailmer and just evolve it from there. But anyway, once you have those party members in those positions, all of the seals on the Pokemon have been released. Now, some of those mysterious looking stones have opened up to reveal caves. And within these caves, we have the Reggie Trio. In the desert ruins is Reggie Rock. In the island cave north of Dewford, we have Reggie Ice. And in the ancient tomb south of Fort Tree City, you can find Registeel. Registeel might just be my favorite. I mean, come on, it's a Steel-type legendary. How awesome is that? Okay, I completely forgot to mention this, but there are more Braille puzzles in each of these individual caves. I know, Jaina, I made a big mistake, didn't I? Overall, I love these 3 legendaries. The method for getting them is so obscure, but it's actually something you can decipher, and it's a lot of fun to decipher. I love the mystery behind them, how their eyes actually reflect the Braille that the mysterious text is written in. It reminds me of the kind of mystery that was given to Mew and Mewtwo, but where they were kind of giving a very clear-cut answer and backstory in the first movie. I don't know what the Reggies are, or where they came from. There's probably an answer out there somewhere, but to be honest, I couldn't care less. They're just kind of incredible to me. Also, now that I had a level 45 Nincada, it had False Swipe, so I was able to get them all at 1 HP, which made them pretty easy to catch from there once you just do a status effect. So, that is everything for Generation 3 of Pokemon. Now from here, the next thing I want to do is a live stream of a randomized Nuzlocke of Pokemon Leaf Green, since that is kind of the next part of Gen 3. Although I think I'm going to wait until I become a Twitch partner or affiliate or something along those lines just to make it more interactive with the community. You know, have people give the Pokemon nicknames, help me make decisions like should I do Hitmonlee or Hitmonchan, fun stuff like that. From there are a couple of spin-offs on the GameCube, Pokemon Coliseum and XD Gale of Darkness. I have no experience with these games, but maybe they're worth a shot at some point. And then of course we move on to Gen 4, and so on and so forth. Overall, this is my favorite Pokemon generation, and it's just the most fun for me to talk about, especially regarding the Reggies and how Emerald completes the story with Rayquaza and everything. There are so many great Pokemon I really love, like Aggron, Grumpig, Flygon, that I never got to use in the Let's Play, but I still really wanted to kind of highlight here. And you know, in this day and age when there's spin-off after spin-off, a Pokemon game every year, multiple versions of the same exact game, I think it's a good time to just look back at Emerald and say, that was pretty damn good.